And we're live. I'm going to try. This is my second live. I don't know if anybody's on yet. Hi, Jules. This is my second live. So, there's two people on here. I'm so excited. This is my second live. So I have no idea what I'm doing, just so you know. And I just got finished having a good tear fest with my hello, Lost in Cyberspace. Hi, Jules. Forgive me again. I'm going to say this probably numerous times as people, hopefully more than 3 people, will log on or join. This is my second live. I'm learning as I go. I have great news. Hi, Troy. Sending so much love, Lost in Cyberspace. Thank you. I wanted to share something really special. And shocker, it's not about the book. I don't want to be just the girl on TikTok who's trying to sell her book, because I'm obviously, I would like to have my book reach as many people as possible, but what is it saying? Match to gain points. I don't know what that's on. I'm trying to read these tips from TikTok, and with my ADD, it's really distracting. So I'm just going to focus on who's joined and say hello and explain why I'm super excited. And it has nothing to do with the book, really, which is even more exciting, because I'm going to vow to anyone who follows me that I promise you I'm not going to inundate my feeds with everything book related, which of course is the main reason why I joined TikTok, because, I'm Gen X. I got to get hip, right? I need to be hip with the kids. And I want my message. TikTok universe to sweetie. I don't know what this is all about. Hello. Hi, people that are joining. I want my message on TikTok to be all about survival, resilience, self-worth, self-love, how we talk to ourselves. I'm not a licensed therapist. I've just been in therapy for 30 years, which is a great segue, because it hasn't been 30 years in a row. Just when I'm at my lowest points and I'm most self-destructive with myself. And the one thing I can say that I've gained with age in my 53 years is my self-insight in knowing when I'm self-sabotaging. And when you grow up, well, I can only speak for myself. I grew up in a very toxic and abusive childhood. So to me, chaos is home. Chaos feels normal. Chaos brings me home. So in my adult relationships and my adult friendships, even my career, if it was too quiet and there was no chaos going on, I was very restless. So for years and years, probably decades, I've created my own chaos. Oh, thank you. My hair looks great. I appreciate that. This is all COVID. I would never have had the balls to do this had it not been for COVID. I isolated. I live alone. I self-isolated. And as the gray was coming in, which, by the way, the very first gray that came in was this white part. So I envisioned my entire head being that color. And I thought, I'm 53. I'm too young to be all white. But this is how I made it through. If there's anyone out there, men or women, that are considering going gray, thinking that it's going to age you. And especially when you're single. Oh my gosh, did my narcissistic mother tell me, don't go gray, you're never going to meet a man or a woman, because I'm bisexual, but she'll never say woman. But yeah, no, it's all about embracing your age. And because of COVID, I thought, you know what? If I don't like it, I could just color it. I'm just going to give it a try. So thanks, COVID. Anyone ever hear themselves, oh my God, if I self-sabotage? I think I can go back and read comments. Sorry, you guys, I'm so new to TikTok. This is my second live, so please forgive me. I'm just learning. I'm trying to get to your comments. Shoot, what did I just do? You have my full permission to laugh, by the way, because like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. Oh my God, I self-sabotaged myself all through my 20s. All my friends lost in cyberspace. All my friends, and abandoned myself completely. And here's my theory and here's my take on this. And the reason why I'm doing a live tonight, you guys, and I'll get to the point eventually. Well, welcome to my brain. Pull up a chair. It's a lot of fun. I'm all over the place with this ADD. What it means to be in a chaotic world, what it means for me to create my own chaos and self-sabotage is to feel comfortable, if that makes any sense to anyone who's grown up with trauma. So I created my own drama. I self-sabotaged. I got in my own way. And honestly, the only thing that, well, not the only thing, but the one thing that's helped me the most is therapy. And let's get to the reason why we're live. I'm so excited to share this. Let me first say, I am not an advocate. I am not a big proponent of Zoom virtual therapy. I'm just not. I'm a hugger. I want people in person. And so I was pretty bummed when I decided a couple months ago that I needed to get back into the therapy world. And I've had so many therapists. I can kind of tell the good from the bad. I mean, you can just follow your gut, because there's a lot of wackos out there for sure. And it takes time and effort to find a therapist that you can trust. And consider it their job interview, not yours. So if you're out there trying to find a therapist, you are interviewing them, and it takes a long time sometimes to establish that trust. So the reason why I'm on tonight is I found my old therapist, you guys, my favorite therapist in the world, whose husband happens to be from Honolulu, which is where I'm from. So that's strange, right? You can tell I was crying. We just had our first session after, I want to say 7 years. She's a mom now. She's a doctor now. So nice to catch up with her. So nice to catch up. Okay, so now I'm just going to try and read comments. It's telling me to swipe left to close. I'm reading comments. I'm totally wanting silver hair. Do you know what I call this? My Scottish silver hair. Because I'm Scottish, Irish, French, German. Just, your typical white immigrant girl. Although my family stock came from Canada, believe it or not. How can I be from Hawaii if I'm first generation United States? My entire lineage is from Canada and England, which is strange. So anyway, Scottish highlights. This is true. I always thought my past therapists or counselors didn't care and just wanted me out. Yes, 100%. I thought the same thing. So you're not imagining when your gut feeling tells you, is this therapist for real? Yeah, follow your gut. I had a therapist once, you guys, and I don't know if you know my history, but I suffer with anxiety and depression. So I was on the verge of, I was in a really dark place, and I ended up in the ER because I had a panic attack that was pretty severe. And the nurse at the ER recommended a psychiatrist. So the difference, of course, the main difference that I can see as a recovering drug addict, I can say this, a therapist is someone who wants to dig deep with you on your behaviors, your attachment style, things of that nature. It's just more of an emotional connection. A psychiatrist, they got the drugs. And that's where my downfall kind of went. But getting back to the unorthodox and the therapist being a little bit wacky. My first appointment with this psychiatrist. Didn't look me in the eye for about 10 minutes. That was my first red flag. I told him I was fantasizing about taking my own life, which there is a difference. And by the way, if anyone's new that's just popped on, I am not a therapist. I'm just sharing my experiences. I've been through a lot of therapy. I have anxiety, depression, cyclothymia, a little bit of borderline, but we won't get into any of that now. But so everything that I'm going to share with you from my therapy talk and all that stuff, this is just my opinion. Please seek a professional if you are in a bad space or you are interested in seeking out therapy. I want to say that. I want to be responsible, but everybody know that I'm not a professional. But here's what this guy did. After I told him I was fantasizing about wanting to take my own life, he handed me a Bible. Yeah, pretty unorthodox, if I would say so myself. And I'm not even going to get into religion. I like to say that I'm a recovered Catholic because I was raised Catholic, and I have opinions on it, but that's not what this live is about. But as soon as he handed me that Bible, I was like, bye. I don't think we're going to get along. If anything, I lean towards the Buddhists' thinking with karma, or that could be Indian. Somebody please correct me. Yeah, a Bible, correct. I know. Do you support the rats? I don't know what that means. Why aren't I in school? That's a great question. Well, first of all, I'm 53 and I barely graduated high school. I had to beg. When I say beg, I mean beg with tears. My Spanish teacher, who was from Brooklyn, so her name was Miss Avilés. She would say things like, essentially, por favor, what we're going to learn today. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but it was really funny to hear somebody with a Brooklyn accent speak Spanish. But I begged her for the one point she needed to give me in order to graduate. So I tried to go to college. I was way into cocaine by the time I was college age. I started hardcore drugs, 16 years old. So my mind, at the time I did not know dyslexia was a thing, or ADD was a thing, or cyclothymia was a thing. Cyclothymia is a watered down bipolar, if that makes sense. It's not as intense, but we have the mania, we have the depression, and I just learned about that, by the way. So yeah, that's why I'm not in school. I'm not a good student. I'm a good student of life. My folks were too pragmatic for religion, but wow, I'd say that this is a new doorstopper for me. Exactly, right? And he's the one that handed me out. He didn't hand me out, but this is a long time ago, before, I want to say it was the Obama administration. Remember when doctors used to just hand out opioids and benzodiazepines, Xanax, all of these things? They handed them out like candy for migraines and things like that. Well, of course, there's a cap on it now, thank God, because of addicts like me. I relapsed after leaving the stripping world in the late 90s. When I was 36 years old, I had that panic attack, went to a psychiatrist, found out he could supply me drugs, even though he gave me the Bible, and I said, we're not going to do well. I still took his prescription, and I didn't take his prescription pad, but I still took his advice to put me on Xanax. And within 9 months, in less than a year, I was in the ER having a seizure because I was taking 9 milligrams a day and drinking 2 bottles of wine a night. So there you go. Hi, addict. Nice to meet you. So now I just take a little THC. I'm a gummy girl. And anybody else? Do you support the rats? I don't get that. A lot of us Gen Xers had toxicity in their family life too. Yes, Alex, YY99. I agree. Weren't we latchkey kids? Didn't they just give us a rope or something with our key on it? And they just said, come home when the lights turn on outside. They didn't know where we were. They didn't know what we were doing. I was getting into all sorts of trouble. It's a little different now. But here's a good question. Has it gone too far? Has it gone too far the other way? Are there parents that are, what do they call them? I'm not a parent, so forgive me. I don't know the terminology. I think it's helicopter parenting is what I'm trying to think of. When they're over you all the time, they're obsessing about your behaviors, and everybody's got to get diagnosed. Everybody's got to have something. I don't know. I'm not a mom. I don't know. I'm trying to read here. Helicopter parents, yes. Yeah. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining. It's my second live, so forgive the non-professionalism. Hoovering, for sure. That's an NPD word, narcissistic personality disorder. Yes, I have been trauma bonded with a few of those, and the hoovering was something that, and I'm a recovered codependent. Hi, kitty cat. I'm a recovered codependent, so the hoovering with the narcissism and the codependence, it's a match made in heaven. Oh my God, the trauma bonds. Listen, the best sex I ever had in my life was with a narcissist when I was deep into my disease of being histrionic. You know that Ashley, what was her name? Johnny Depp, and what was her name? I can't even remember now. That girl that made up those lies. I felt like I was watching myself in my 20s. Histrionic, which means hysterical, drama queen. Borderline, which is a fear of abandonment. All of those things. Betting on my own while parents working made me grow up. Oh, being on my own while my parents working made me grow up. Yes, borderline. Thank you. Yes. Hello. Oh, Amber Heard. Thank you. Amber, welcome to my brain. Pull up a chair. It's fun. Yeah, I saw a lot of myself in Amber. I did. I really did. And it did not make my heart feel good when I saw a lot of the memes out there making fun of her. She's a human being. She's got her issues. I don't think what she did was right. I'm so happy that Johnny won. But, I had a little empathy for her with her disease. I hope she gets help. There's a lot of people out there that are in need of help. And did I even get to the point of why I'm here? Why I started this live? Because I just got off the phone. I just got off a Zoom call with my therapist that I loved so much that I haven't seen in 10 years. Her name is Aaliyah. She's a doctor now. She has 2 kids. I can't tell you what a great feeling it is to not only find a therapist that knows you and loves you and trusts you, but to find someone who you don't have to go back to the beginning. That was very daunting. The thought of, because look, writing this memoir has been a pain in the ass for my PTSD. It is one thing to write your trauma, but it is another thing to write it, and then it's another thing to read 300 pages back to back to back to back. You're this chapter, you're that chapter, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there's trauma here, trauma there, trauma there, trauma there, and it was hardcore. So I knew I needed to get back into therapy, and it was a very daunting thought, because I knew if I started all over again, you call up your Aetna or whoever your insurance provider is, and then you pick a name off a list that's closest to your zip code, and then you just cross your fingers because now you have to call them. Who's going to call me back? Who's even going to care? It's such a racket. So when I found out that I could not Zoom, but have a FaceTime with my old girl, Aaliyah, who helped me so much, very, very happy about that. Very, very happy about that. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading. So happy that you found a good therapist. Yeah, she is. And because she is, we're pre-COVID, right? There was pre-9/11 and post-9/11. Now we're pre-COVID, post-COVID. So post-COVID living, therapy, more and more is virtual. So if anybody's interested, I am so happy to recommend her. She is the real deal. And to give you an idea of how real deal of a therapist she is and how invested she is in her patients, this is long before the book was finished. I had a blog. Do you guys remember blogs? Oh, what am I drinking? Ginger ale with some orange slices in there. That's what I'm drinking. And water. But it's a good time to say, it's a good time to tell everybody, I still drink alcohol. I'm a drug addict and I still drink alcohol. I know. I'm a freak. I don't go to meetings. I have been to meetings. I think they're fantastic for people. It's just not my bag. And I grew up abusing alcohol, blacking out, doing very shameful things on alcohol. So I put it on a shelf for a year. This is in my 30s. Because I thought, holy shit, I'm going to have to stop everything, right? When can Amber make a comeback? Can Amber ever make a comeback? I don't know. I don't know if Amber's going to make a comeback. I hope she does. I wish, every human being I wish the best for. Unless you're, I don't even want to talk about and give energy to the people that are evil, but unless you're pretty evil, then if you're just mentally ill, I wish you well. What was I just talking about? Oh, being sober. A lot of people have issues with this, you guys. Oh my God. I think Demi Lovato just came out with saying California sober, which is, I think, she doesn't do fentanyl. She doesn't do opioids, not the hard stuff, right? Heroin is fentanyl based or opioids, right? I don't know. I think it's all the same, but it's not. I know that. It's just deadly. So California sober, alcohol, I think, is on the docket, and THC, which is marijuana. I'm not California sober. If I go out and I'm at a dinner and I'm having a filet mignon and I want a glass of red wine, I have one. But getting back to putting the alcohol on the shelf for a year to prove to myself that it wasn't a vice that I was addicted to, that really made me happy because I do like alcohol. I just don't abuse it anymore. First of all, I'm too old and I can't recover. Oh my God, my recovery time? Woo! Hardcore. Used to take me a week. And now if I have 2 glasses of wine the next day, I'm useless. So it's just not my bag. It's just not my thing. But drugs, on the other hand, wow. I'm a drug addict for sure. If I had a full bottle of Xanax, Vicodin, whatever, it would be gone in a day or 2, depending on how much I had in the bottle. That's how high my tolerance is. Put it this way, I just had bronchitis for nearly 3 weeks. The only way that I could fall asleep, the only way that I could find a solution, and we're talking 3 visits to the urgent care, 3 COVID tests, 1 chest x-ray, chronic bronchitis across the board. I was getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, which is not the way to heal. So I finally got the doctor to prescribe me the codeine. Yes, I live in Southern California. I am in Long Beach. My addiction choice is food. I have a food addiction as well. It manifests in many, many ways. I used to have a sex addiction in my 20s and a shopping addiction in my 30s. So good times. What was I just talking about? Oh, the codeine. The codeine in the cough syrup. That saved my ass. But man, I was fucking scared. I was fucking scared of taking it. Because when you have whatever wiring makes you a drug addict, it's very easy to understand that by me taking a spoonful of cough syrup with codeine in it, it's going to flip my fucking switch. And that's what I call it. I lost the same with you in alcohol. See, that's your vice. My vice, thank goodness, is not alcohol. But the drugs, oh my God. And I was a cocky little bitch when I left the stripping world. I was 28. I was doing Molly. Well, they didn't call it Molly back then. It was pure MDMA, pharmaceutical cut. Molly, about 5 or 6 pills a night. I know. I don't know how I'm alive either. Started cocaine when I was 16. Continued on cocaine, probably about 2 grams a day until I was about 30. And an occasional window pane, which is acid, LSD, and mushrooms. Those were fun. So that's my drug history in my younger years. So I was a cocky little bitch. And when I got on to this Xanax relapse, which I ended up being on 9 milligrams a day, every day, with 2 bottles of wine, because, addiction loves addiction. Which I really just contradicted myself, didn't I? Because I'm not addicted to alcohol. But when I was high, it just was, it literally was hand in hand. So anyway, ended up in the ER, ended up going to a detox that I call Club Detox in my book. So you'll read all about that. For me, it's scary for me when I cut back either food or alcohol back in the day. Like I thought, what would I do? And you know what the thing is? Lost in Cyberspace. And Demi Moore writes about this in her book. She has a fantastic memoir out, by the way. I think it's been out for a couple years. Gosh, I wish I had it so I could show it to you. I have it somewhere. I don't know if you remember her back when she was super cut and she was in that movie Striptease and she was just like 0 body fat and just her body was banging. Well, she has she talks about this in her book. She had an eating disorder, and the hardest thing to give up when you have I don't know how to say her name, Liu Jr. just joined. The hardest addictive substance, for lack of a better word, vice, for me, is food. Why? Because we need food to eat. You could block all your drug dealers. You could, stop that and get medicated and go to a hospital and go to rehab and get all that out. You don't need that to survive, but you need food. Just making those healthy choices, right? Okay, I'm looking to see if there's any more. Does anybody have any questions for me about anything? And again, like I said earlier, if you're new, that it just popped on, I do not want my platform to be all about, oh, I'm the OG stripper from Waikiki, blah, 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 blah. It's an exciting story. The way that I talk about it is it's Less Than Zero, which is a very 80s movie, because I'm a Gen Xer, what can I say? It's Less Than Zero, which, by the way, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, right? He's Iron Man now? Yeah. If you know anything if you're a Gen Xer or you're not, and you know anything about his past, he was so fucked up in that movie. That movie, he was basically playing himself. So my elevator speech about my book is, it's Less Than Zero meets Miami Vice, which of course is all about the cocaine and all that, with more nudity and hairspray, which is a little tongue-in-cheek way of saying, I'm very self-deprecating, I have no shame, and I'm not telling people to not be a stripper at all. I had a blast. It was Motley Crue. It was Poison. It was Def Leppard. I mean, come on. We had a great time. My issues would have followed me had I become an accountant at 19. But because I became a stripper at 19, and you'll learn all about the why, but the short of it is, because of my skin disease as a child, they called me Freddy Krueger. You can look at my past posts. I never felt beautiful. And one of my girlfriends was approached in Waikiki. We were there, that's where I'm from. And she's a beautiful beach blonde Barbie. And somebody approached her to enter a wet t-shirt contest. And God love her, she said, only if my girlfriend does it with me. And I'm just like, oh no. Well, guess who ended up winning the contest? Girl can dance. If I do say so myself. So I got a tip on stage. Somebody came up to me and gave me this $1 bill. And for the first time in my life, that was it. I was home. I was beautiful. Changed my name, changed my life. And there's the whole drug thing, but we won't get into that right now. But I survived. Spirituality is great, better than religion. I absolutely, Patricia, 100% agree. Food equals comfort and safety. Yes, it does. It's a dopamine hit in your brain that food can give you. And mine is pasta and bread, which are the worst things to have. But yeah, I get it. And I have a sweet tooth too. And I do enjoy Def Leppard. Pour Some Sugar on Me was the old name of my book. But since it's now less of a stripper story and more of a skin story, in other words, it's about the why. And if you know about Orange is the New Black on Netflix, it's not on, I mean, it's on, but it's ran its course. The person who wrote that book, her name is Piper. And I'm a friend of her husband, Larry, who is played by Jason Biggs. So I met Piper through Larry. And Piper and I got to talking. And I said, this is how I want my story to be when it becomes a series. Because you got to think big, right? You got to dream big. You got to manifest that shit. So in Orange is the New Black, the template is you have this protagonist that's in the woman's prison. And then what the writers did and what the producers did is very, very smart. They created a backstory for each person, for each character that is in the prison. So what I'm envisioning is the same template, and I talked with Piper about this, putting it in the strip bar. So you're no longer in the prison, you're in a strip bar, and then you want to get into the backstory of each of the girls. Because nobody ends up on the pole if they're healthy. Sorry. I'm talking mentally. Nobody chooses that life unless there's a backstory. And it's a pretty hardcore backstory. That's just my own personal. What expectations do you have with your readers? Who will read your book? Hi, Mike Brooke or Brooke Mike. That's a great question. I expect people to understand the why of people who choose sex work. And when I say sex work, I'm not talking about prostitution specifically. I never cross that line. I don't judge people that do. My feelings on it are very complicated because if I broad stroke it and say I am for legal prostitution, which I think it should be, and it should be taxed like everything else, to consenting adults. And that's where I draw the line. But I think if you do that, you open up an entire other component, which is the sex trafficking, which I don't have the know-how and the knowledge. I don't know how to fix that. So anyway, my expectations is for people, to the readers, I want them to understand the why, and not just my why. I want them to see through a different lens, right? Which would be empathy. Put yourself in the shoes. Put yourself in the person's life, how they grew up, how they were raised, how they felt about themselves. There's got to be a reason, right? And look, I worked with girls that were in college and they had their shit together. There was not a lot of them, but I did. I went to girls, I worked with girls that were nursing their children and they just tried to make ends meet. So, and then I worked with a lot of partiers like me. And back then we thought our shit didn't stink. I'll tell you that right now. It was Waikiki, which is 3 miles long. And it was the 80s. So if you had cocaine in the 80s, oh my God, that's why I say Lesson Zero meets Miami Vice, because Miami Vice is an 80s thing. Cocaine was considered the glamour drug. Cocaine was all about, the Wall Street rich people, just all that shit, whatever comes with it. Like, put it this way, there's a caste system with drugs. There just is. So at the time, for me, it was cocaine. And then it was, pills, maybe. And then alcohol, of course, is always in the mix. But LSD was around. It was kind of It was around because of the 70s. It was right, we were on the heels of that. And then at the bottom of the list, you had your crack. So I even had a therapist tell me once, and this is in the book. She said, when you say you were a crack whore, and I corrected her. I said, no. I was a coke whore. And she cracked up. So did I. It was pretty funny. And I'm not judging any of them. I'm just saying there's a caste system. Heroin, of course, is another big one. I grew up in the 70s thinking that heroin, if people did heroin, they lived under a bridge and they had needles in their arms and all that stuff. No. Oh my God. Do you know people snort that shit? Yeah. That's how I was introduced to it. Never did it. But I was at the club. And one of the girls came up to me and she was being extra. She wasn't, I could tell. When you're a drug addict and you're familiar with all of them, like I was, it was like Wheel of Fortune. What do you want? Cocaine, ecstasy, mushrooms, whatever. I knew what everybody was on. This one, I didn't know. She came up to me. She was being very lovey-dovey. And she whispered in my ear, do you want some? And I said, what are you talking about? And then she said, H. Holy shit, freaked me the fuck out. I had no idea you could snort it. What were the 80s like? Amazing. If you take my childhood out of it, amazing. Put it this way, when I listen to music, because I'm so old, it's hard for me to get into the new stuff. I've tried Lana Del Rey. What else is new? Somebody tell me what's new out there. Who's the girl with her brother? It starts with an E. Come on. She did something at the Grammys, and she wore a shirt of Taylor Hawkins. Why can't I think of her name? I really like her stuff. But I can't get into it's just The Cure, dude. The Cure. Billie Eilish. Thank you, Tacky Ghost. Yeah, I like her. Her voice is amazing. I also love Pink, but I don't think she's that new anymore. The Killers I like. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I like, but my heart, you guys, because I'm an 80s girl, I go into the Pandora and I have these playlists, and it's all The Cure, The Smiths, and all that shit. Love it. Even a little disco, even a little Donna Summer, Earth, Wind, and Fire. That was the 70s. That was when I was about 10. I was born in 68. So when I was 78, I was all about Earth, Wind, and Fire. All that. Cool in the Gang. Hi, 177190. Billie Eilish, yes. I love her. And I love the fact that she wears the baggy clothes because she doesn't want to be sexualized. Fucking brilliant. Unbelievable, right? And then what was she wearing? Something that showed her tits and everybody was up in arms about it? Give her a fucking break. I don't even know if I can swear on this, but I'm doing it anyway. Any other questions? Anybody want to share some of their music of today, and I'll give them a try, because I'm so stuck in the 80s. I swear to God, I am becoming my mother. It's kind of a mean thing to say, but like I'm one of those older people that just listens to the stuff that they were that was popular in high school. I try and listen to the new stuff. It just doesn't hit that same nerve with me. So anyone else? 42430. Why do people have numbers instead of their names? I just automatically think they're bots. That's probably not fair. I can't get rid of the comment thing. Borderline Amber, so true. Yep, I feel that it can Amber. Yeah, yep. There is a national shortage of good psychiatrists. I did not know that. That's really sad. And you do remember blogs, see? Those were the days. That's how long I've been writing this freaking book, you guys. Seriously. We're looking at 20 years. Close to 20 years. And that includes the 2 breakdowns I had, because I had to relive some really dark stuff without the luxury of being high. Which is why I started taking drugs in the first place. But here's the thing about drugs, and I'll say this, and I'll say it again and again. They feel fucking awesome. But as high as the high is, the lows are that much lower. And then there's that whole dying thing you could do. So just don't do it. Just say no. I had a therapist once tell me, you can get the same feeling that you get from MDMA, because this is when I was really into it. Because remember, back then they didn't have the word, depression wasn't thrown out around as it is, as much as it is now. But I had a therapist say, you can get the same feeling if you go on a hike. No, you can't. Ecstasy fucking literally dumps truckloads of serotonin. Is that correct? Dopamine, serotonin? Yeah, no. I'm not going to jump out of a plane either. Oh, good. Oh, go to bed. Have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll keep doing these lives. I don't know how often, but it's really cool to connect with you guys. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap? Questions, comments? Doesn't have to be about stripping. It can be about mental health. It could be about drug addiction. Why I don't feel like I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict. Big distinction in my mind. That's not a popular opinion. I do get chastised for that, but it's just the way I feel. If alcohol started to sort of take over, where I would be missing work, things like that, if I was driving drunk, if I, wasn't budgeting my money correctly, then of course, I would own up to that. But it's just not, I have a full bar behind me. Can you see that? Yeah, some of the stuff isn't even open. I've had it forever. So anyway, I'm going to sign off and really want to thank people for coming on because this has been fun and I swear I'll get better at it. And I love you guys. This is why I wrote my book. And again, I'm not on this page to just shove this book shit in your face. I want you to know my why. And it goes way beyond the stripping stuff. But that's the stuff that's going to be the most interesting, I think, to people. And then they'll dig into the why. So now I have to figure out how to end this. So anyway, I'm leaving now and I'll figure it out. I love you guys. Bye.